And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode. This is the Connected for Real podcast. I am Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman, and I'm a marriage coach for women in business. And yesterday, I went to Rachel and Dave Stern's Misibat Hodaya, which is the Thanksgiving dinner that they had for their miracle of surviving a terror attack. And present in that room was Jonathan Pollard, Rabbi David Bar Haim, a bunch of amazing people from the Machon Shilo community. And it was such an amazing experience. And I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about it because not everybody was going to be able to be there, obviously. And there was so much that was said there. And I want to come from my angle, okay? So I'm not going to give you the full rundown of everything that happened because, yes, there were a lot of speakers and each one of them was so good that I can't even begin to summarize what each one said. That being said, I want to tell you some of the takeaways for me and that things that I wanted to share and highlight for you as well, okay? So let me just give you a little bit of a backstory. Rachel and Dave Stern are friends of ours. We know them personally. Our kids played together. They moved to, I think, Itamar on a hill. They built themselves an amazing homestead. I go there and it's just, expansion. This is it. Like the view is amazing. Their house is amazing. They have sheep and lamb. They have, amazing children, and they're growing their own vegetables and fruits and everything. So just going there feels really good, right? Like if you're into Instagram following these people who have really awesome homesteads, this is a real life experience that is worth going for. Okay. So I absolutely love Rachel. We think so alike that when we used to have conversations, we were cracking up at how similar we were thinking of the same thing, or like how much we do things the same way. It was very fun to have a friend like that. And I definitely wish that I was living closer, but it's still really great to meet each other and see each other. So Dave and Rachel Stern were driving to Jerusalem so that they can go to a class that Rabbi David Bar Haim was giving. And on the way, Rachel spoke, right? Last night, Rachel spoke, and she was describing that on the way, there was this Arab guy holding his hand sort of like hidden behind his back, something like that. And she said to Dave, why is that guy walking like that and hiding his hand? And pretty much as soon as she said that, the guy took out a gun and started shooting at them. And he was very, very close. She right away like covered her head, covered her ears, closed her eyes, became really, really small and tried to, protect herself, obvious protective mechanism, which is the exact time it should, get into gear. So perfect timing. Thank God she was, not hit at all, which is a total miracle, right? Like, but when the shooting was over, it turns out that Dave shot the guy back and got his hand. The Arab couldn't shoot anymore, and so he started running away. And the police afterwards were able to trace him through the blood track that he left. So Dave was hit in the head, in the hand, and was bleeding a ton. But because because God protected them, okay? Let's say that first. Not because of anything, they could have done or not done. God made a miracle. The history of Dave is that he is a United States Marine. He's a sniper. He's amazing. He's one of those like really prepared guys. And so like if anybody had to be in a situation like that, it's him. because he knew what to do, and he handled it really well, and he was able to bandage himself and, tell Rachel what to do. By the time the ambulance and the police and everybody got there, which took quite a while, he was already bandaged up and telling people what to do. Totally crazy. Like, oh my gosh, right? Like, you do not walk out of things like that just by walking. But they had a real miracle. And the miracle is that it was him who had to be through this situation, because he had the knowledge, the skills, and not only that, the mindset to be able to stay cool in that situation, to know exactly what to do. His body almost automatically got the gun, shot the man, was able to actually, shoot without being able to see, because the windshield was completely crushed. Knowing what to do and being able to stay so focused is something that he's been working on all his life, right? And that was pretty amazing. So it was an incredible experience to just be there with them and realize the amount of miracles that had to happen, and the perfect hand of God that, made everything work out so well. Thank God the wound in his head was just a flesh wound, and it did not hit his brain. It did not even get anything close to his skull. It got close to the skull, but it didn't get through it. I think he had some arm things, his bones, whatever. But yesterday we saw him, and he looked amazing, and he looked great, and Rachel looked great. And so it started out by the first speaker, Dr. Yerachmiel. He's a criminologist, and his specialty is in terrorism. And he's on all the WhatsApp groups, and he's aware of everything. He's working with this day and night, and he knows all the statistics, and he knows all the details, and he knows all the attempts and all the thoughts and all the, conversations that go around terrorism and the terrorists themselves and what they're saying. And he brought a bunch of really, really interesting numbers and statistics and thoughts. Really, really fascinating. Really fascinating, the amounts of information that we have. And something he said was that we need to be prepared. We need to know what to do and how to react, because when they hit and they're not successful at killing you, when you actually know what to do and you shoot back, it brings down their morale for like a good 2-3 weeks. And there's a drop in attempts. And he says you could see it in the numbers. It's so crazy. When they see that they tried hitting a Jew and he hit back, or he stood up for himself, or he knew what to do, it brings it down. He says that's the only thing that he has seen that brings down the numbers. And that was mind-blowing. Another thing he said was that it's 90% mental. And, of course, the joke my husband said, and the other half is physical. Classic joke. It is totally 90% mental. Totally. And, even Dave himself said, there's something that happens that you just click into gear. And when you prepare your mind, when you prepare your brain, when you prepare emotionally for knowing what to do, so you trust your body, you trust what's going on, and you just sort of go with it without fighting it. And that was really, really impressive, because this from sports, right? And I just swam the Kinneret. So I know this from my experience of swimming 2 kilometers across the Kinneret. It wasn't that much. I'm not minimizing it, but I'm not saying it's like gigantic. But it is something where you have to push yourself, and you need to get out of your head, and your head starts to feed you all the negativity and all the crazy and all the, what ifs and whatever. And you are going to be more successful when you prepare yourself. And it's like that in life. It's like that in everything you do. And it's like that in every situation, even scary situations like that. So that is one of those really, really important points that I want to bring out, because it's what we do, right? It's what we do when we work on training our brain, creating thought patterns that work with us and not against us. It's so, so powerful. Okay. Next was my husband. He was asked to speak, and he spoke about King David and all of his journey and his hardships. And at the end, he spoke really beautifully. And at the end, he blessed Dave that there should be more Davids amongst us. And amen to that, because, that was really, really beautiful. When Binyamin Lemkin introduced my husband, he also was so sweet to include me in the introduction. And he said, thank you for all that we do for the students and whatever. It was very, very sweet. But he introduced me as a marriage counselor, and he said, if your marriage is bad, make sure to go to her. So hopefully you shouldn't need her, but if you do, she's the best one. And I want to talk about that, because I wanted to run to the mic and be like, excuse me, that's the wrong thing. That's actually not accurate. I wasn't going to do that. There's too many people there. But so I do appreciate the shout out, and I am very glad to help whoever I can when somebody is having a hard time. Is definitely something I do help with. And I specialize in prevention. And I feel really proud in that, because everything that we do in the masterminds, what do you think? People are going to join a mastermind if they're in a situation where they're so bad that they need counseling? No, when they need counseling, when they need actual help, sometimes I send them to actual help, or we do individual work because they're in a situation in life where they just need to really, really heal this thing. But the women who come to my mastermind are women who want to raise their level of consciousness. They want to work on that mindset. They want to have the 90% mental really sharpened up so that they can live this life with real life. Like, come alive, become intentional so you come alive. And I wanted to just make sure to tell you guys that, because if you were in that event and you thought, oh, okay, so she does marriage stuff and, I probably shouldn't need her, right? I really want you to need me. I want you to need me, because being proactive is way better than being reactive. And being prepared for conflicts, for things to come up in life, for, whatever comes. Like, life is going to be life, right? We are not changing life. We're not saying, let's create a life that is all smooth, all play, all fun, and nothing is ever going to go wrong. No, we're saying life is life, and we have to work on our mindset, on our emotions, on our ability to bring ourselves back to stability when things go woo, right? How do we do that? How do we strengthen ourselves so that we don't fall into the illusion of this world, right? That lie that everything has to be hard, that everything's bad, that everything's just icky. No, that's a lie. How do we hold on so tight to God that when there is a situation that feels like, oh my gosh, whoa, you can escape into that safety of God, which is something that, Marines learn to do. They have a whole training on how to escape into your safe space, how to be able to stay calm in a situation like that. And that's why he was able to react so well, because he had those skills to lean on automatically. He didn't have to turn it on. He didn't have to think about it. It just happened because he practiced. These are the things we do. Of course, I'm not teaching you self-defense. That's not my specialty, but it's all the same. Life is all the same. It doesn't matter where you are, in which niche, in what you're doing. It's all the same. It's always 90% mental. It's always your ability to be proactive and prepare and know ahead of time that you are ready for whatever comes. And part of that being ready is not, like Rabbi Siskin said so beautifully, it's not cracking the code. Oh, I figured it out. I know how it works. No, it's knowing that God is with me at all times. And all the things that are working with me, for me, are from God. And anything that's coming up is from God. So what we're hacking here is not that we figured out how to do it. It's that God is with us. And you're bringing God in every single time. You're pulling him back into the situation, even when it's dark, even when you get confused, even when you're like, dizzy for a second, unconscious. We create, we strengthen the muscle of reconnecting to God. And it was so beautiful. Rabbi Siskind also spoke about thankful, hoda'ah and hoda'ah, two similar words, or actually the same word, that means thankful and to confess. Okay, so thankfulness and confession are the same word. Why? Because when you thank anyone, you are confessing that you're weak. You're confessing that you couldn't have done it without him. And by the way, in marriage, that's really powerful, right? When I thank my husband for making food, I am confessing that I didn't make the food, that I feel lacking in that way, and that's okay. And I'm grateful that I have who to lean on, right? So it's hard to say thank you because you have to bring a part of yourself. You have to be a little bit vulnerable in what you are thanking for, because it means that you needed them. It means that there was something you lacked. That was a really, really beautiful part of Rabbi Siskin's, speech. So Rachel and Dave both spoke. First Rachel and then Dave. They each said their experiences, which were very interesting and very different. Rachel was so vulnerable about the negativity that came up, like the lies that her brain was throwing at her, like all the stuff came up, oh my God, we're going to die. Dave is going to die. I'm going to be all alone. My kids are going to be alone, like all the things. And like, nobody survives this type of thing. I could name 5 people who have been shot in the head and ended up dying. Like the amount of garbage that your brain will bring up is crazy. And as I spoke about in the video about my swimming, that was exactly what happened to me. The second you get in the water, the first thing your body says, we cannot do this. There is no way we're doing this. I'm going back. Nothing could prepare me for such a thing. Like everything comes up and you don't know where it came from. It's like, what? And I love that she was so honest about it because it's so normal. There's nothing wrong with her. This is so normal. It happens to every single person in every situation. And the skills are to be able to say, wait, what you're feeding me might not be true, right? It doesn't have to be. It might be just a thought. Let me question it. Let me question it, right? And for her, it took the doctors saying, we saw the scans and he's going to be okay. And then she finally relaxed and was like, whew. But it was a long time before she was able to digest that. And the other thing that she said was that it took her a while to realize that she was part of the miracle. Dave was shot. So all of the focus was on Dave. But I love how she said, because it really is true. Like the way it was presented in the media was also like Dave survived. Dave shot back. He knew what to do. He's, a hero, all those things, which he is. She was there too. And her life was spared too. And just being able to accept that and receive that and think of that was tremendous. And again, your brain is going to try to minimize it and be like, oh, but nothing happened. I was like, I am not touched. So obviously I'm fine. Like I'm out of the picture. But it's like, no, you had the bigger miracle, okay? Like you had a Marine there with you, saving, doing the thing that he was doing so that you could come out like, spotless. Such a miracle, such a miracle. And the beauty of how she described it and how she was so honest and vulnerable about it, the things that were going through her mind, the things that she was thinking, and also the dream that she had, is just, the whole thing was just so beautiful. Anyway, part of the dream that she had a week before, which she only remembered after the whole thing happened and settled down a little bit, was that she saw Jonathan Pollard in her dream somehow. And so she sent him a message saying, an email, I think, saying, I had you in my dream the week before we were attacked. Do you, is it possible that you could come to the Seudat Hodaya, the Thanksgiving dinner? And he came. And so we were surrounded by all these iconic heroes, people who saw Jonathan Pollard. Of course, everybody wanted to take a picture with him. Everybody wanted to talk to him. Everybody wanted to touch him. Like, are you real? Are you real? Oh my God, you're real. I will tell you personally, I remember making pictures in kindergarten to send to Jonathan Pollard. I remember drawing the picture and giving it and feeling really like important and special and like, okay, I'm going to make him happy. Like this picture is going to make him happy. And we're with you and all this stuff. I remember as a teenager realizing that there was no hope for him. The amount of darkness that there was, and just seeing that it's been so long. Like I grew up my entire life knowing that he was stuck there forever. And even he was just, when he spoke so beautifully. He's such a human. Oh my gosh, right? Like you think of him as just a picture or an icon or a logo, but he's actually human. He has the sweetest smile. He has the greatest stories. He is so awesome, so nice. Okay. So he spoke really beautifully. And he said that at a certain point, he was told that he wasn't going to be able to leave America. And even after his death, he was not going to be able to be buried in Israel. That's crazy bananas. Crazy. Talk about darkness. I cannot even imagine. And the physicality of him being here in Jerusalem, talking to us, was the epitome of redemption. It was, this is it. This is what it looks like. This is an example of what a process of redemption looks like. There is darkness. There is hopeless. There is nothing is going to change. I am stuck here forever. And then there is a sudden blink of an eye situation thing that happens that suddenly makes everything possible. All your dreams come true to the point where he is living in Jerusalem. I'm just like, right? And when Dave spoke, he spoke about appreciating life, putting things in perspective, being with his kids and just being like, oh my God, I could not be here and I'm here, just things that we take for granted. It is so powerful. And, when Rabbi David Bar Haim spoke, he spoke also, everybody spoke really beautifully. He spoke about, I think I'm blinking on what he actually spoke about because I remember the last part, and that's the thing that's sticking into my head. So do watch the replay of the whole thing. You can listen to all the speeches. I think they're probably going to be online. The last thing he said is that, he quoted Steve Jobs, and he said, people who think they can change the world are crazy. And the thing is that only those who think they can change the world end up changing the world. And then he says, so, we're in good company. Like there's a bunch of crazies here. And that was really interesting because it's one of those things that makes you realize it's worth it to be different, to stand up for the things that you're saying, even if it's going to sound crazy to some people. If it works, it works. Okay. And I want to bring all this back into what I do, because that's always what you're here to listen to, right? Like, you're here to hear me speak about how everything applies to our marriage, to our life, to our existence, and our role. And so there's going to be things that you're going to have to master all your courage to stand up for. And it's going to feel like you are closing all the doors. Like, everybody's going to think I'm crazy. Everybody's going to say this, that, the other. It's beyond, I cannot do this. And you just have to, because that's the truth. And that's what you have to stand up for. Right. And when you do, by the way, let me tell you the spoiler, when you do, you feel this relief of standing up for truth, but you also get this light, this extra superpower boost to be able to do your mission, because you've finally stood out, like stepped out of that hiding spot, stepped out of the lie. And that's something that is so, so powerful. Okay. So when I was starting my business, and people said, "What do you mean? You're not a counselor. You're not a therapist. You don't even have a degree. Like, what do you think you're doing?" And I even had a coach tell me, "Don't you want to just do a degree, just like to say that you have a degree, just like do a quickie thing, a coaching degree or a therapy degree or something, just so you say that you have." So first of all, I have a degree in humanities. I have a degree in graphic design. I have plenty of degrees to, put on my wall, but I don't think it's about the degree. The amount of experience that I had that brought me to what I'm doing is one thing that, I'm really proud of, like, growing up with my parents and them being the rabbi of the community, the educators, the people that people came to ask for advice. I also had this clarity beyond question that this is what God wants me to do. And I didn't have time to waste pretending to be studying something that was going to have to, force me into a box, right? Because, like, if you learn under anyone, they want you to do their system. And I had my thing so clear, downloaded into me by God. I cannot take credit for the calm method. I cannot take credit for the flow system. It is all part of the process I had to go through and what came out of that. And I feel like it isn't fair for me to, try to hide behind someone else's degree or someone else's expertise and say I'm under them or something, because the truth was that I was 100% aligned and 100% in flow with what was being given to me. I was given a mission and I had to go for it. And people told me I was crazy. And people still tell me I'm crazy, which is fine. No, the truth is that I'm actually really normal. And a lot of people say they really like me. So that's great. But there's going to be that, like, first reaction thing. Oh my gosh. What are people going to say? What are people going to do? Nobody's going to want to work with me. All the noise, right? We spoke about the stuff that your brain is going to say. And then your job is to say, who is stronger here? Right? My why, which is bringing God's presence into this world. Like, I am super clear of why I'm here. And by the way, this is one of the things I do with my clients, with the mastermind, is one of the things we find our purpose. We find the why. We're like, why are you here? And it's a super fun activity because you play with it a long time and you force it out, and it's painful. It usually makes you cry. Like, it's like, I can't say this out loud. People are going to say I'm nuts. Your why is bringing God's presence home, like bringing Shekhinah home. What does that even mean? Oh, so then I explained to them, like, well, it's, bringing God's presence into yourself, because your body is the home of your soul. So you need to bring God's presence into your soul, into yourself, like into your life. Then it's also bringing it home to your home. Like, that's where the marriage comes in, and that's where parenting and all the things that we talk about in the relationship department. And then home to its home. We're not here to sit around and wait for something to happen. We're here to create a new reality. We are here to bring God's presence home in all of the aspects, in all of the ways. So standing up for that is very scary. And the scary comes from believing that people's opinions actually matter, when in reality, the only opinion that matters is God's. And I am super aligned and super confident that this is it. And one of the reasons why I'm so confident today specifically is because I just graduated my mastermind that was finishing up now. And it is so beautiful to watch every single woman have what to say about the experience, how they rewired their brain, how their life is different, what is actually changing and constantly evolving in their own way of doing things. One lady said that it was miserable to fly with her husband because it's just so frustrating. And then now the last time she flew was a pleasure, because she had all these skills that she learned in different parts of the program that rewired her brain to know what to do, like how to ask for certain things, how to prepare, how to think ahead, how to communicate, what to ask for, how to pray for the certain things that she thinks need to be in place for her to have a good flight. Like all these things that she didn't even realize were happening behind the scenes all came together when this actual situation came into her life, right? And then when she looked back, she said, how did this happen, right? How did this situation end up different than the past? It's because of all of the training that we've done. And I just want you guys to know there is no pressure. I am opening up a mastermind next week. You have to be signed up by the end of the week. It is called the Connected for Real Mastermind. I'm calling it that because that's the name of my business. Connected for Real is the ideal. It's being connected, so connected that you are up here, but you are so practical that you are living down here. There is no separation. There is no separation between how we are in our minds with our levels of consciousness and how we are in real life, in the way that we act, in the way that we react, in the way that we're prepared, in the way that we live our life. So it's the Connected for Real Mastermind. It's a mastermind because it is an intense experience. Not that means that it's intense in the time consumption category, because it's actually 1 hour a week. And everybody can tell you 1 hour a week is so powerful, because you do the work 1 hour and then it trickles in. It does, you open up the door during that 1 hour and then God does the rest. That's pretty much how I can explain it to you. It's very difficult to explain things like these because, again, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. Like I could tell you there's magic and you're like, yeah, magic. I don't know. Do we believe in that? It's not really magic. It's just God doing his thing. And then we call it miracles, and then we call it magic. And we just say, like, that's not possible. How is Jonathan Pollard sitting right next to me? Like, what's going on? Right? Like, how is he even real? That is all part of living in God's world, being able to live up there in consciousness. So the mastermind is a 6-month mastermind. I'm making it 6 months because originally my other masterminds, I've tried different amounts. I've done 6 months, I've done 9 months, I've done a year. I found that people have an easier time jumping in when it's 6 months. When I do a year, the only people who sign up to the year are those who have already worked with me and know that this is a no-brainer. Of course, I want you in my life. I could probably sign up for 10 years if you let me, right? There's this like obvious continuation of I don't want to stop because the work is so easy, but also so powerful. And it's phenomenal. So you get 6 months of once a week, 1 hour a week session, which are very, very good. They're group session. You also get 3 one-on-ones with me. Those are for you to use when you need something personal. You don't want to open up in the group. You don't have to. I like this hybrid approach because I believe that one-on-ones are really powerful. And I don't think that you should only do one-on-ones because then I find that it gets isolating and also you feel like you are the only one going through this. So it's very, very helpful to have a community where people ask the questions you're not even thinking of asking, and then you get a much richer experience during that hour of the session. So there's a full session every week. You get 3 one-on-ones, and I am telling you, if you need more, let me know. But I've found that those who have graduated didn't use up all their 3 because they didn't need them. I asked them, I said, why didn't you use all of them? And they said, well, I did the first one in the beginning so that I can really, go deep with the specific things. But then I felt like the sessions during the week were filling me up enough that I didn't need to lean on you specifically. I just had the experience I had during the session that was enough to feed the entire week. So I really see this is a beautiful experience that isn't something I can explain or describe. You just have to come and feel it for yourself. Another thing that you get, by the way, is access to all of the trainings and all of the previous sessions. So if you ever feel like you have extra time or you're doing the dishes and you just want to hear something or you want to do a meditation, there is meditation library, there's a training library, and there is the previous sessions library. And you can just sit yourself down and do any of those anytime. Okay? And you get access to that the entire 6 months while you're with us. So there's no problem there. I invite you to make a call with me. There is a link that is going to be down there that is all about scheduling a 20-minute conversation with me. First of all, because I love meeting people in person. Second of all, because I think it's easier to commit to yourself when you know for sure this is right for you. And it's easier to know this is right for you when you actually talk to me and see, what it is. And I see what it is you need, and I can help you better assess what the right thing for you is. Okay. So I have had people who called me, who scheduled a call, and it wasn't right for them. And I make sure to tell you because I don't need you to be in my program if it's not right for you. That's not what I need. And that's not what you need. I'm also super aligned. Like, it feels out of values to take somebody who isn't ready, because if you're not ready, then you're going to be resentful of not being ready, right? It's going to get icky. Recently, I had someone who said, I don't want to join the mastermind. I just want to have a session with you once every month when I need it. And you know what that means when I need it? When things are bad. When things are really bad, that's when I'm going to call you. And honestly, I don't want that. I'm not interested in working with you just so that I could pick you up from the mud, help you take a breath of fresh air, and let you fall back into it. It's not an integrity with what I want to do. It's not an integrity with what I was put here in this world to do. I don't want to just help you get a breath of fresh air from the mud. I want to get you out of the mud. I want you to never go back to the mud ever again. I want you to live your life in a different way completely, without all the stories and all the dramas and all the stress and all the overwhelm and having to walk on eggshells and not being able to stand up for your boundaries. Like, all that stuff stinks. I know, I've been there. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means that there is something that is pulling you down, which is the human existence, right? Like, we are here with a very strong gravitational force down, and our soul wants to move up. And so the more you can strengthen the more you can strengthen your soul, and the more you can strengthen your abilities to click into that connection with God, the easier it is going to be to realign, to restabilize, to not have to feel out of whack. And this is amazing. So if you're on Instagram, come to ConnectedForReal.com. Actually, ConnectedForReal. That's my handle, ConnectedForReal. There's no numbers, by the way. It's just all letters. ConnectedForReal. If you go to Instagram, you will see how to schedule the call with me. There's going to be the link right there. And I would love to meet you this week. If you are looking for me online, I'm at ConnectedForReal.com. And if you are not ready to sign up right this minute, but you know this mastermind is going to be right for you, we're opening another one in January. So make sure you sign yourself up for the wait list, because that one might be sold out by the time we get to January. The amount of stories and feedback and testimonials and friend tells friend situation that's going on makes it that the more we get ahead, the more they fill up and the more there is demand, right? And I want to go back to that comment that Benjamin Lemkin said. You should, if you're having a hard time in your marriage, call her, and, we should never need her. But if you do, she's the best one. I built my whole business on the belief that we should all be intentionally preparing to be proactive in our own lives, to come alive and live like you're actually alive, to live your purpose, to have the relationships you want to have and strengthen them so that you can actually enjoy life with them, to be with God for real and not just because, that's how we grew up or that's what I know is true, but I don't actually feel it, right? Like, we work a lot on the God baggage stuff. I want you to know that you deserve to feel amazing. And if you're listening right now and you want something practical to do right this minute, obviously also schedule a call with me. But if you want an exercise right now to do, journaling, sit yourself down and dream. Write down what I would do if anything was possible. If there was a magic wand, if I could be in that higher level of consciousness, what would it look like? And by the way, this is very hard for people. It's very hard for all of us to see past our nose, especially when we're in survival mode. So something I like to do is, what if you got $17 million and you didn't have to worry about it running out, because the next year you're going to get $17 million again, or maybe even more, because, your business will go up. So you have $17 million. Now what? What are you going to do? Buy a house, furnish it? What is your day going to look like? What is your morning going to look like? What is your schedule going to look like? It gets you going. Okay. So it's a little bit easier to think in money terms, but money is just there to help us gain awareness of real things. It's very cool. Okay. So I wish you guys all the best. I love you all. I am not usually working on Friday, but today I felt the need to record this. So I want to wish you a good Shabbos, a Shabbat Shalom. And please, God, I will see you next week in my calendar so we can talk on Zoom. And if this mastermind is right for you, I invite you to come and raise your hand and be ready, be willing to receive. I love you. And don't forget to stay connected for real.